Well, welcome everybody. It's good to be back together. Obviously, really important time when you talk about the off season. I've always felt, it is so important to go back to ground zero and build your team right like you took the job day one. And always the first thing that you're always going to do is surround yourself with great people. You show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And to be able to have our staff almost finalized, bringing on Cedric Douglas. So happy for Rip Rowan going to the Las Vegas Raiders, and for Darius Eubanks, who's done. Both guys did a terrific job. We bring on Cedric Douglas as our defensive line coach. So excited about that. His expertise, him having the opportunity, have worked with Coach Bailey in the past, and just a well-renowned recruiter and coach. We're glad to have him here. I expect to have the linebacker position filled and announced. I'm hoping that will be by Friday or Saturday as we go into spring football next week, and I'll give you that announcement as soon as everything is finalized. We also welcome new personnel, 34 newcomers that we've signed on this past class, 21 high school players, 13 transfers. 17 of those men walked in midterm, and I've had the opportunity now to go through a winter workout program. And that's the first part. You bring your people together, and then you remember that you reteach your culture, especially when you onboard new people. And I thank James Heiss, our strength and conditioning coach, as well as his staff, for really instituting who we are and bringing the toughness and the discipline and the team over self mantra that we bring to the table. Now we get to have the opportunity next week, exciting time, to be a part of spring football. We welcome everybody, from fans to media. Please feel free to come out to all 15 practices. We'll start on March the 4th, and we'll go all the way to April the 5th, where we'll have our spring football game. And we'll have a spring game. It'll be at 1:30 right here in Paulson. Really excited about the consistency of being able to have Ryan Applin and Brandon Bailey back to keep our offensive defensive systems intact and for multiple years, and looking forward to be able to introduce those systems to our newcomers. And then with that, when we get done with spring football, obviously it's on to the season. Expecting our schedule to be announced by the Sun Belt Conference this Friday. Excited about that. So thankful to everybody that has purchased season tickets already. It is going to be a really exciting home schedule. And those that haven't, we hope that you'll come and go ahead and purchase your tickets so we can see you in Paulson. With that, I'll take any questions that you have. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question, Josh. When you lose certain key positions like we did last year, you think about Derwin Burgess and LV Bunkley Shelton and what they brought to the table at the outside receiver position. That's one position that we really felt that we needed to not only groom from within, but bring some experience to the table. And so when you bring a Cam Brown, you bring a Dylan Gary, you bring a Brian Green, as well as Marcus Sanders coming back and others, we really got to groom that outside position with the production that was lost outside from last year. I think the other position that's going to be really important is linebacker. When you talk about losing Amar, losing a Day, to be able to have Brendan Harrington come back and be a part with us, Brandon Tyson to come on board with us, as well as the guys that are already on campus. Now you bring some experience at that position, plus some talented youth to really provide that depth there. So I think that's going to be really important. You lost two really good playmakers in Tyler Fromm and Bo Johnson, as well as Evan graduating also. And so, to get a River Helms and get a Amon Green, guys that have been ultra productive in college football here, as well as having an Elijah Walton, a JP McKeel. I mean, that position we look forward to growing also. And then I think the last one would be the DB core. Losing Stampley and having some guys, finish out their eligibility like TJ Smith. We brought in a wealth of talent in that safety position, as well as a couple corners to be able to help us out. So those are really the four spots that I really think that we've got to grow fast to have another successful season next year.
Spring ball is just kind of a checkpoint in the offseason, having been around these guys for the last couple of months. What does this do for college
Mhm.
especially in today's world where things change
Yeah,
year to year so
yeah.
much. What is that kind of checklist for you that by the end of it,
Mhm.
you hope that this group is keep?
Yeah, this is it's really important. I think consistency. For programs. And so I'm really proud of a couple things. One, having the availability go into my fourth season now, the consistency at the head coach position, the ability, like I said earlier, to, you have to be able to bring back your offensive and defensive coordinators within the same system. And then you look at our attrition with players, it's been to the minimal in back to back years. So you're looking at guys that are fourth, fifth year guys now that have really grown up with us. And our success has been based on their growth. We continue to improve each and every year. So you didn't lose your whole football team like a lot of teams that we see out there have. They've lost a huge percentage. We've been able to keep our football team together, keep the major pieces of our staff together, and the consistency of the culture under the head coach together. I think that's really important. Now, to be able to use that spring, like I said, man, it's about onboarding those newcomers and being able to teach them our culture and our way of life. This place was built on mental and physical toughness. It was built on accountability and discipline, and it's built on putting Georgia Southern and the team over yourself. And that chemistry has reigned, over the last 3 years, and we have to continue that. That's a great question, Joe. I didn't see that. Say that name one more time. JC French. Yeah, yeah. Uh, well, both great quarterbacks. I love them both. But to have a guy that played his first year of college football that led us to 8 wins, that was that close to leading us to a championship game, just in the off season, you've seen his confidence. You see his poise that he shows already, and being more vocal. Last year it was about, hey, I'm trying to do my job on a day to day basis, and he had blinders on doing his job. And now I've seen him even be vocal with the guys in the workouts. Be vocal. When he's out there throwing with guys about, hey, this is what I expect. This is what we expect, and that's great to see. To be able to have a guy going into his second year that's been within the system. There's another consistency. This is our first year of having the quarterback actually come back. You had Kyle as a senior. You had Davis as a senior. Now having a guy that's been within the system and he's coming back, that's just an added plus.
Coach, you mentioned with your opening statement you had 16, 17 guys
Mhm,
coming in midterm.
mhm,
How important is it to get these freshmen,
mhm.
getting them jump started, getting them in the program?
Yeah, definitely. The breakdown is we have 4 freshmen that joined us, 13 transfers, and for the freshmen, it does provide some extra. You think about going from a high school, being in high school right now, where you just finished your senior year and you're really not doing football in spring. If you're still in high school, and that the organization of strength and conditioning, to be able to go through basically 16 weeks of strength and conditioning from January all the way through the summer, plus going through 2 training camps, both spring football and fall. Yeah, there's a huge advantage of that. Charlie Johnson, who's here right now, is being rewarded by having that extra training camp to be able to learn the system. And so it's important for guys, especially all 13 transfers are here right now. That we signed, and it onboards them in our culture, and now we get to be able to work with them physically to learn the system. So it does put you ahead. Our biggest area of growth that we have to remember too is 17 of them are here, 17 more are coming. And being able to have a great summer with them, because some of those guys, freshman wise, are going to help us next year. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, obviously, anytime that you bring back an OJ Arnold in that running back room, the way it is right now, it's a really deep room and a really talented room. That all of a sudden you see the likes of a Bryce Baker, a Teo Todd, a Terrence Gibbs, really flourishing right now, and excited about that room and what I've seen thus far. Big men win championships. Look at the depth on offense and defensive line we have and the experience that we have on offense and defensive line. All five offensive linemen for us right now in the starting five, when they walk out there, all have played college football games. It's not going to be their first time. A lot of the backups have already played. Same thing on the defensive line. I mean, anytime that you get to return a Latrell Bullard, a Troy Pikes, Elijah Fall, the edge players that we have in Deshaun Davis, MJ Stroud, those type of guys, you're talking about guys that have had a ton of experience. This thing has been built in trust and relationships and consistency and keeping guys here. And I feel like, and I don't mind saying it, I feel like if we hold this team health wise together and pushing in the same direction, it's the best team we've had since we've been here.
Coach, you allude to relationships. In today's college football world, that may be more important than ever when you are losing a Coach Rowan and a Coach Banks who are beloved by not just the player and the community.
Yeah.
How much do you balance a resume and a football mind with just good person and making sure that when they come in here, your guys feel love that maybe second guess potentially?
Well, I tell you, one of the things that I told Jared Benko and Chris Davis that was sitting there in Atlanta when we talked about this job, was that we were going to bring in really, really talented people that were kind of the next big thing. There's probably a lot better coaches out there than me. The one gift I have is I believe in being a great evaluator of people and of talent and surrounding myself with really, really talented individuals, people that have elite character, people that can develop at a very high level, people that have a care and concern for individuals, people that will be brutally honest with the men that are around them, and they recruit really, really well, And so when you surround yourself with that quality of people, yes, you're going to lose. And like you've seen in our time, that's why I think I've had so many calls with these open positions. You think about the men that we've had and where they've gone to, San Diego Chargers, Las Vegas Raiders, Alabama, Auburn, Miami, it goes on and on. Louisville. We bring really talented people in. They help our place, and then we bring another talented person in. The one thing that I've been really, really proud of is just the consistency of building that trust and relationship with the players, so they know who we are and they know what we're about, and that we have their backs. That's a great question.
Coach, you know who your starting quarterback is, but the backup maybe not
Yeah.
so much. How important is it to maybe this spring to look, maybe try to get more established? Because as we all know, one play away from start.
Yeah, definitely. It's ultra important. That position has always been priority number one. And having the availability when we first came in, you saw that was probably our biggest sign was Kyle Van Treese that whole year. We knew how important that was. And then going into year two with Davis Brin, but also providing some depth. You remember a young J.C. French entered it at that point in time. And now continuing that depth. To be able to have JC, to be able to have a Tyler Budge now going into year two. You got one kid named Helton that comes in that has actually had college experience and didn't cost anything to bring here, is extremely valuable. And then you go out and sign two of the better players in the South, in Charlie Johnson, Player of the Year of Alabama, and we all saw what Weston Bryan did at Lee County in multiple sports. Just a freak of nature when it comes to the position. And you got Trey Townsend as a quality walk-on that's here and doing great things. So you've got depth and talent at the position, and that's why you have 15 spring practices, you have 25 fall practices to be able to establish that pecking order to see who's playing the best in the moment. The one thing, like I said earlier, is just that solid movement of what JC's doing right now is ultra impressive, and now you put a ton of talent right behind him.
What impact did the
Yeah, it's. I think we're all waiting for it. To be honest with you, to see what comes about with that. I think the first thing that's going to happen is, it will make a decision on roster management. We've all been at the 120 rule. First day of school can slightly go up, so you've seen all these teams be from anywhere from 120 men to some up to 140. And now that could shift down to 105. And I think that's going to be the first thing is what is the number going to be, and when are you going to be at that start of that number? I think that's the first thing that's going to happen. I think the second thing that's going to happen is what does everything look like, to have kind of a borderline and a gauge on where are collectives at, where's revenue sharing at, just some guidelines, to be able to go by that universities and conferences can kind of lean on moving forward. So I think we're all sitting here just waiting to see what happens. The one thing that I've learned over 30 years of being a college football coach is it's our job not to have excuses, but to adapt and have answers. And so I think the coaches that have been proactive in building their rosters and being able, I'm so grateful for Georgia Southern for the resources that have been given here. We've been very proactive when it comes to the resources for our student athletes in every way. I think we'll be in a great place. But we're all going to have to adapt. Once that April decision, if whether it's done or whether it's pushed back again, we'll see. Hmm. 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 Yeah, hey, there's going to be a revenue sharing model that yeah, I think everybody is going to be in their own situation. Whether how many do you have 105 scholarship players? Do you have 85 scholarship players, and they get more revenue based off that revenue sharing piece? I think everybody's going to kind of look at their model based on what they have and what they're given, and then come to it. And there'll be some decisions that's made as far as rosters, as far as what allotment, how many scholarships you want to do, how deep you want your team. Do you use that revenue share strictly on upper echelon talent, or you use it on depth? There's a lot of decisions to be made, and I think that's why you're looking around and you see guys in college hiring general managers that are coming in to not only see that revenue cap space, but also being able to manage a roster on a day to day basis.
Coach, I had a question about the portal. There's a lot of talk now
Hmm.
that there's just too much going on. Like in
Hmm.
December, you have early signing period, you have one portal
Hmm.
in December, January,
Hmm.
then you have another one opening up in spring.
Hmm.
Would you like to see some adjustment made to the calendar?
Yeah, I think that we're adapting to that, and that was one of the things I think Greg Bowl, is doing a wonderful job with the AFCA about really bonding us together and getting an overview of what the calendar should be. Because as the rules have changed and the portal has changed, the window has changed, we are trying to adapt our calendar to fit that. I do think probably the one most important piece that I think is really being taking in to recognition is how important our postseason product needs to be. We are in the entertainment business, and we're a TV driven business, and the ability to have a really quality product in the postseason, not only for the playoffs but for bowl games, which is a huge part of college football. You want to be able to have the strongest teams possible as you go do those. So I know that we talked about as far as coaches trying to push that portal window back till after bowl season, January 2nd or beyond, and making that window. I think the spring window will be a lot determined based on what happens in April with the court's decision. But there's the right now for the time being, they did what was best. I think for college football and for young men was to be able to have that window both after the season and right after spring football, so decisions can be made as roster management situations are made and determined. So, pretty good decision by them. Now we'll see where it goes in the future.
From a director of player personnel standpoint, Ryan Smith, when he started, it
Mm-hmm.
was a different role than
Mm-hmm.
Bevel taking over
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah.
How night and day different is it? Is it more similar? Because as you guys talked
Mm-hmm.
about, it's more of a GM as much as just player personnel.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I always believe in is training the next man up. You saw that, when we hired Brian Ellis, the first thing that we did is we went out and fought like heck to go get Ryan Applin. And being able to train him within the system so the transition is very smooth and very easy. In doing this, having Andrew Bevel, who had other opportunities over the last couple of years, he was the next man up, learning right with Ryan, not only to be able to handle what we knew what was coming, to be able to handle revenue share and cap space and those type of things, but also being able to make determinations in rosters. And that's why he was in charge of the offense. We have Chase in charge of the defense. So it's an assistant general manager role that's now becoming the general manager, and did not want to change that after being trained for 3 years. And as good a job as he's done in producing what you've seen offensively for us, So to be able to learn from Ryan, to be able to not have to teach somebody from ground zero again, there's that consistency that you need. And proud for Andrew, he's earned it, he's deserved it. And now we've got to find that person that fills that next role that's ultra important on that offensive side of the ball.